From the moment we're born, we are absolute sponges. We're hardwired to watch everything and everyone around us, their habits, their skills, how they talk, and we just soak it all in, most of the time without even thinking about it. This invisible process, it's pretty much the engine of how we learn to be, well, us.
Okay, let me ask you something. Have you ever been totally stumped? I mean, trying to fix a leaky pipe or maybe master a new recipe, and your first instinct is to pull up a YouTube tutorial? Yeah? Well, if you've done that, you've already tapped into the incredibly powerful phenomenon we're going to talk about.
And get this, it is not just a human thing. It's something we see all across the animal kingdom. In one wild study, researchers gave juice boxes to chimps. Now, one group was just kind of dipping their straws in, not getting much out. But when they saw another group of chimps getting way more juice by sucking on the straw, every single one of them switched their method. Instantly. No one had to tell them anything. It was just pure observation in action.
So yeah, this super powerful form of learning actually has a name, and scientists have been studying it for a long, long time. It's called observational learning, and it's all about how we absorb information just by watching what's going on around us. So what's the official definition? Basically, observational learning is the process of watching someone else, we call them a model, and then copying or modeling what they do. It's one of the most fundamental ways we pick up new skills and behaviors. But here's the thing, it's not just simple monkey see, monkey do. The psychologist who really cracked this whole thing open was a guy named Albert Bandura, and he argued that there was something way more sophisticated happening inside our minds. See, Bandura's big breakthrough was realizing that the old school theories, which said we only learn from direct rewards and punishments, were missing a giant piece of the puzzle. He pointed out that we can learn tons of stuff without anyone giving us a cookie or putting us in timeout. Our own thoughts and our internal mental states, they play a huge role. And this is where we see the big difference. Plain old imitation is just copying, but observational learning, that's strategic. Think about it. Let's say you see a coworker get chewed out by the boss for being late. You don't just imitate them and show up late tomorrow, right? No, you learn from their mistake and you make a mental note to leave home a little earlier. You've made a smart cognitive leap based on what happened to them, not you. Pandora also showed us that these models are literally everywhere. You've got your live models, like a yoga teacher showing you a pose in person. Then there are verbal models, like a coach just telling you the plays. And then you have symbolic models, which can be anybody from a character in a movie to your favorite influencer on TikTok. All right, so how does this whole process actually work? How does watching someone else get hardwired into a new behavior for us? Well, Bandura broke it all down into 4 essential steps. Think of it like a recipe. First step is attention. Obviously, you can't learn if you're not paying attention. Second, you need retention. You got to be able to remember what you just saw. Third is reproduction. You have to actually be physically able to do the thing. But this last one, motivation. This is the real gatekeeper. Because just because you can do something doesn't mean you will. So what flips that motivation switch? This is where it gets really interesting. If you see your model get rewarded for what they did, that's called vicarious reinforcement. You're way more likely to copy them. But if you see them get punished for it, vicarious punishment, you're probably going to steer clear. It's like, imagine little Allison sees her big sister get a timeout for playing with their mom's makeup. The motivation for her to do the same thing just, poof, vanishes. Now, this all sounds great in theory, right? But Bandura wasn't just going to leave it there. He designed one of the most famous and, frankly, controversial experiments in psychology history to prove his point. And it all revolved around an inflatable toy named Bobo. The setup was pretty simple. He had groups of kids watch an adult teacher in a room with this big 5-foot-tall blow-up doll. And the teacher didn't just play nice. She was aggressive, hitting the doll, kicking it, yelling at it, the whole 9 yards. But here was the crucial twist. Some of the kids saw the teacher get punished for this aggressive behavior, but the other kids, they saw her get praised for it or just completely ignored, like there were no consequences at all. The results were staggering. The kids who saw the teacher get away with it, they copied her actions almost perfectly, punching, kicking, even yelling the same things at the doll. But the kids who saw the teacher get punished, they didn't touch it. This proved Bandura's point in a huge way. They had all learned the aggressive behaviors just by watching, but they weren't all motivated to perform them. So what does a weird old experiment with an inflatable doll really mean for us today? It means that this force, this observational learning, is incredibly powerful. It's a tool that can either build us up or tear us down.
On one hand, you have pro-social models who can be unbelievably inspiring. Think about figures like Gandhi, who modeled nonviolent protest and changed the world, or even just parents who read to their kids, modeling a love of learning. But then there's the flip side. Antisocial models can teach some really destructive behaviors.
And this leads us to a huge takeaway, especially for parents or anyone who's a role model. That old saying, do as I say, not as I do, it's completely useless. Kids are wired to copy what they see you do, not what you tell them to do. Your actions are always the real lesson. And the consequences of this can be absolutely tragic. Studies have shown that around 30% of people who were abused as children sadly grow up to become abusive parents themselves. It's a devastating cycle, and it's often perpetuated because people end up modeling the only behavior they were ever shown. So this brings the entire conversation right into the 21st century. If we learn so much from the models around us, what happens when those models aren't real people, but symbolic ones we see on our screens, in movies, on TV, and in video games? Just try to wrap your head around this number for a second. It's estimated that by the time an average kid graduates from high school, they might have been exposed to around 200,000 acts of violence through media. So the billion-dollar question is, what effect, if any, does that have? Well, this is where it gets complicated, because even the experts don't fully agree. On one side, you have researchers like Craig Anderson, whose work suggests a direct, causal link between hours spent watching violent media and having more aggressive thoughts and behaviors. But on the other side, you have researchers like Christopher Ferguson, who argue that while a link might exist, you can't ignore all the other factors, like a person's mental health or their family life. It is a really complex debate with no easy answers. So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway? It's that we are all, every single one of us, constantly learning from each other and teaching each other, whether we realize it or not. We're all models. The only real question left is, what are you choosing to model today?